Okay, ma'am, you are live.
Thank you, sir. A delightful good morning to everyone present here for this live session. But first and foremost, I, Dr. Disha Vidyarthi, Coordinator IIC Cell, extend my heartiest greetings and warm welcome to our honorable guest speaker, Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, President of IIC Cell and Innovation Ambassador, Dr. Poonam Pandey Ma'am, Director, IIMT College of Science and Technology, Dr. Mohit Arya, Convener, IIC Cell, all the other dignitaries, dear colleagues and students. Well, today we will be having an informative session on how to plan for the startup and legal and ethical steps under the guidance of the field expert, Dr. Bhaskar Gupta. Hence, with the great amount of pleasure, I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Gupta. Well, Dr. Gupta, veteran academician, research scientist, and director, NITRA Technical Campus, joined us as an officiating director and dean at IMT Group of Colleges, Greater Noida in 2020. Dr. Gupta completed his BE in 2001 and MTech with honors in 2006. While electronics and communication has been his core area, Dr. Gupta, in his academic career spanning for more than 19 years now, has taught various subjects at both UG and PG level in many renowned institutes such as AKGEC, ABES, IMS, and DIT. He is presently working as a president of IIC Cell and trained as an innovation ambassador by Ministry of Education Innovation Cell. He is also the coordinator for NISP and ARIIA. Dr. Gupta wears many hats as an academic professional. His works, other than basic teaching, include publishing and presenting several papers in national, international journals, guiding MTech projects, working on various state and central government sponsored projects, and traveling around USA, South Korea, Oman, Afghanistan, Dubai, and Ethiopia on academic and research mission in association with world's renowned universities. Dr. Bhaskar Gupta had also been the director of SSITM Aligarh, BIRTM Khurja, and NITRA Technical Campus, Ghaziabad. Well, thank you so much, sir, for being here with us. And now I would humbly request you to please kindly take over from here and guide our young minds. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us for this live session.
Thank you very much for such a nice introduction.
Thank you, sir.
I officially welcome you all to this online session on how to plan for a startup, legal and ethical steps. And I am happy to share that this is one of the Q3 activities of Institution Innovation Council 4.0. And hopefully the session would be both enriching and insightful for students, community, and for all faculty members. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the President of IIC Cell, Vice President, Convener, and all the council members, the principal of the school, and the coordinators of this online seminar. Let me just begin with my presentation in a few minutes. I'm going to present. Is it visible? Please let me know.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, so officially welcome you all to the session on how to plan for startup and which are the important legal and ethical steps involved during the startup cycle. So what are startups? It's very important and imperative to understand the concept and how can we define the startup. Startup normally refers to a company in the very first stages of its operations. Startups are usually founded by one or more budding entrepreneurs who want to develop something in terms of product or service or the process or the model for which they believe there is a demand in the market. These companies generally start with high costing and limited revenue. What I mean to say, there is no angel investor, there is no venture capitalist, there is no successful entrepreneur who would like to invest in your business venture. You have to work as a risk taker in the initial stages of any startup. Startup is a company that's in the initial stages of any business. Founders normally financing their startups themselves. As I have already told you, there are no people, there is no crowdfunding approach. Nobody will be there to provide you any financial assistance. In fact, in the beginning of any startups, you would have to take help from your own friends, family friends, your uncle, father, mother. That's the only support in the beginning of any startup. Funding sources are very, very limited. No venture capitalist, no crowdfunding. Then loan is also not available. Startups must also consider where they will do business and their legal structure. Startups come up with high risk as failure is very possible, but they can also be very unique places to work with great benefits, a focus on innovation and great opportunities to learn. Startups are companies or ventures that are focused on a single product or service that the founders want to bring to the market for commercialization. These companies typically don't have a fully developed business model or some disruptive kind of innovation which they want to bring into their product or services. More crucially, I would like to say, lacking adequate capital in the beginning to move on to the next phase of the business. Most of these companies are initially funded by their founders. Many startups turn to others for more funding, including family, friends, and venture capitalists. Silicon Valley, you must be knowing, is known for its strong venture capitalist community and is a very popular destination for most of the startups, because if you are going there, you can get financial support easily. A very strong VC startups can use some sort of innovative business plans. Market research helps them to determine the demand for a product or service, while a comprehensive business plan outlining the company's mission, objective, goals, as well as management and marketing strategies. So which are those important legal and ethical steps? How to find an idea? It starts with observation, writing journals, socialize outside your normal circles. You can browse the internet, you can read the books. That is the way to find out some innovative idea. How can we idea creation and diffusion? If you look at this particular curve, you will see over the time when some novelty is there, then quality will be there, quality enhancement will be there over the time. So whenever you are working on some innovative idea, there must be non-obviousness, there must be novelty in this, must have some industrial applicability. What I mean to say about utility must be there. How to find an idea? So it is dependent on, sometimes, when your impact is very high, your output must be relevant. If your impact is high, then you can say you can go for long-term business. If your impact is low, sometimes there is no priority. Sometimes the impact is too low that you have to forget it. So what I mean to say, you have to work on innovative and creative ideas, and the creativity comes from the imagination. And just after the creativity, you can approach the innovation, where innovation helps to convert your knowledge into wealth. So it is the innovation only. So let's have a look at the different types of IPRs. However, the intellectual property rights are varying from country to country. Patent, a set of exclusive rights granted to a person for his invention, not discovery. Trademarks, practically a sign that is distinguishing the goods or services of one enterprise from those of the others. We can also go for copywriting. If it is some literary and artistic work, you can go for copywriting. A sign used on goods that have a specific geographical origin and possessing characteristics that are essentially attributable to that place of origin. In that case, you must have to go for geographical indication like Mathura ke pede, Kolhapuri slippers are all having geographical indication under IPR. If it is some novel industrial design, and industrial design constitutes the ornamental or aesthetic aspect of an article, in that case, industrial design type of IPR will be filed. Quick exercise, you can look at these few images, which is McDonald's, of course, must have gone for trademark. Here it is some automobile, innovative design, patented. There is some trade secret by Coca-Cola company. It is about their chemical composition, chemical formula, which the company don't want to openly disclose in front of the public. So they must have gone for trade secret, copywriting. Some, I have already told you, some literary and artistic work, and even book can also be copyrighted. This is some patent, on the left side of the page. Right side, there is some innovative and sleek design of the mobile phone, which is patented. Procter and Gamble is trademark because it is some sort of, text is there. Then this is some, a dog is there, which is some, artistic work is there, must have been copyrighted. A basket with small holes on its walls is a design patent. Here it's Nike trademark. Then automobile, it's patent. Then I already told you GI is about geographical indication, which is related to the place of origin, like this kind of slipper is manufactured at one particular place. Why to safeguard IP? Commercialization to earn from licensing, technological development and blocking competitions, recognition and rewards. It is about brand building and to raise funds. What is that IP flow? Validating idea and filing the patent. Patent once published and granted, after a couple of months, you can gradually move to patent valuation. You can have valuation of your startup and market research. Thereafter, once your patent has been granted, you can think of licensing, agreements, and technology transfer from your one place to another place. What about market research? It is about defining your objective, determine research design, preparing research instruments to be used, collecting data for analysis and synthesis, analyzing data. Collected data has to be analyzed, and accordingly, the number of iterations have to be performed until we get the right product or service in our hands for commercialization into the market. Then you have to visualize the things and you have to communicate findings to the others. What is that primary approach? It is about interviewing your end users, either telephonically or face-to-face, undergoing various online surveys, particularly during COVID-19 pandemic. We have had online surveys, preparing questionnaires and offering to the students and users, customers for their better feedback. Of course, to make use of social media platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter accounts, and all that. What is that secondary approach? Internal sources. You can make use of balance sheets, profit and loss statements, inventory records, and about sales figures. External sources were journals and magazines, industry and market data, annual reports, government database, demographics, sociographic data, all data related to the consumer. Patent valuation is about to increase to find the business value from the IP through optimum management decisions, to raise funds and securing the finances, to assess the damage claims in business dissolution, infringement and breach of contractual rights, restructuring or liquidation procedure as in mergers, acquisition, spin-offs or bankruptcy act. A future unknown market will determine the value based on market demand and supply dynamics. If we are having quantitative and qualitative analysis about the valuation methods, it is about what, why, and parameters. This analysis helps to determine the monetary value of the patented technology for the given patent. But why? This provides worth of the patents. It is based on the future predictions of the patented technology. And which are those important parameters, which are cost-based, market-based, income-based. You can also go for qualitative analysis. Again, it is about bibliographic factors having direct impact on the value of the patent, including citations, broadness of the claims, etc. But why? This factor helps us to determine the rating of patents amongst the set of given patents. What are the important parameters? Legal strength of the patent, technological strength of patent, and bibliographic strength of the patent is equally important. If you look at the legal status and analysis, it is about patent status, legal position of strength, patent term remaining, breadth of claim, geographical coverage, monitoring against infringements, legal proceedings, enforcement means. Here is a table where you can have a look at this. The publication number is shown, publication date, with the title which you have patented, legal status allied, sometimes it is dead, filing date, and expected expiry date is also mentioned. So once you are going to file patent, so this kind of information will be furnished by Indian Patent Office. Qualitative analysis is technology and market coverage approach, where we have to talk about licensing agreements, unique technologies, substitute technologies, testing of the inventions, production skills, equipments, pre-commercial term of development, marketing value, production of infringing copycats, identifiable infringing products is about market coverage approach. So bibliographic factors, if you look at, it is about number of independent claims, number of dependent claims, number of words in first independent claim, forward citations, backward citations, international family are all bibliographic factors to be taken into account and having direct impact on the values of the patent. If you look at this, for example, where we have scored 22 out of 30, number of independent claims are 1, international family 5, backward citations 4, forward citations 5, is totaling to 22 out of 30. Quantitative analysis is about market-based method, where we have to work on terms of utility, technological specifications of the product, perception of the market. This can include various patent licensing deals, patent infringing cases, or patent litigation cases as well. So here you can have a look at the licensor and licensee agreement. Once your patent has been granted by the Indian Patent Office, you can have one tie-up between the two companies, licensor and licensee. So here OIN is going to deal with Toyota in manufacturing technology. Between these two companies, patent pool license agreement, it's a type of agreement, which year, in how many $million. So this way, this is the stage just after the granting. Cost-based method, if you look at, two different techniques are used to measure costs. Reproduction cost method, where estimations are performed by gathering costs associated with the development of a replica of the patent, which is under valuation. Replacement cost method, estimations are being performed on the basis of the costs that would be spent to obtain an equivalent patent asset with similar use or function. This method is not user-driven and the data used always refers to the past. Generally used to verify plausibility or to determine minimum price thresholds. Income-based method is about income stream, net sales or gross income, estimate of patents useful life, patent-specific risk factors, royalty rates, if any, discount rates. What is licensing? Licensing is mainly about exclusive and non-exclusive licensing. compulsory and voluntary licensing, cross-licensing, carrot licensing, stick licensing are different kinds of licensing agreements. So here there is a license agreement, an agreement to make, have made, use, export, offer for sale, and sell licensed products in the field of use during the term. So this is at the part of licensing. By there on the right hand side, there is a licensor where fees and royalties are involved. License initiation fee is involved, license maintenance fee, milestone payments, earned royalties are all parts of licensor company. Important components, fee and royalties, confidentiality is very important, term and termination, patent prosecution and maintenance, infringement, limitation of liability, disclaimer of guarantees, and of course insurance are all important components of this agreement. So if we would like to summarize, we will come to know it is about protection of the patent, market research, IP valuation, and finally licensing. So what is that business plan? Typically consisting of an executive summary, company description, market research, description of products or services offered by you, the management and operational structure, marketing and sales strategy, and of course financials. Thoroughly writing out your plan accomplishes several things. It gives you a much better understanding of your business. You may think you know what you are talking about, but putting it on paper will truly make you an expert in that area. Writing a formal plan increases your chances of success by 16%. Having a business plan also gives you a better chance of raising capital for your startup company. No banks or investors will be giving you $1 if you don't have a solid business plan. Plus, companies with business plans also see higher growth rates than those without a plan. So if you look at this business plan, businesses with a plan get better results. So business growth will be there. So what I mean to say, the people will be there who will be providing the capital, working capital for your startup company, but you must be ready with solid business model or relevant innovative business model for your product or the service. So if you want to write a business plan, you will need a business plan software. And Loop is there, Fast Free Business Plan software, Live Plan is there, Go Small Biz, you can download. These are open source softwares. BizPlan, Business Sorter, Plan Guru are all different kinds of softwares in order to write your appropriate business plan or your business pitch which you want to present in front of investors. Make sure your company has a clear objective, identify your target market, who will be your customer. Analyze your competition. This is a red ocean, a lot of competition is there. Budget accordingly, identify your goals and financial projections, clearly define the power structure, discuss your marketing plan, keep it short and professional. When writing a company description, make sure it's not ambiguous. We are going to sell stuff is not going to cut it, right? I hope you must have understood. Instead, identify who you are and when you plan on going into business. State what kinds of products or services you will be offering and in what kind of industry. Where will this business operate? I mean to say about location. Be very clear whether you will have a physical store, operate online or both. Is your company local, regional, national or international? Your company description can also incorporate your mission statement. This is an opportunity for you to gain a better understanding of your startup. The company summary forces you to set your clear objectives. The type of company you have and how you will be operating should be very much obvious to anyone who reads it out, including the reasons for going into the business. For example, let's say you are opening a restaurant. A reason for opening could be that you have identified that no other restaurants in the area serving the cuisine you specialize in. You can briefly discuss the vision and future of your startup company, but you don't need to go into too much of details. You will be covering that in greater depth as you write the rest of your business plan. Please do keep in mind this description is just a summary, so there is no reason for you to write a ton. This section should be pretty concise and no more than 3 or 4 paragraphs which you have to present. You have to identify your target market as well. Your business isn't for everyone. Although you may think everyone will love your idea, that's not a viable business strategy. One of the first steps to launching a successful business is clearly identifying the target market of your startup. But to find out whom you will target, you need to conduct the market survey. So it is about your product. If you are going for a target market, it is related to your price of the product. It is about promotion. It is about the location. So you have to be very careful when you are undergoing the target market. You have to focus on these 4 important parameters. This is arguably the most important part of launching a startup company. If there is no market for your business, the company will fail, your idea will die. It's as simple as that. All too often I see entrepreneurs rushing into a decision because they fall in love with an idea. Due to this tunneling vision, they don't take the necessary steps to conduct the proper research. Sadly, those businesses don't last. But if you take the time to write a business plan, you may discover something. There is not a viable market for your startup before it's too late. It's much better to learn this information in these preliminary stages than after you have dumped a ton of money into your venture. To figure out your target market, start with broad assumptions, hypotheses, and slowly narrow it down. Typically, the best way to segment your audience is using these 4 important categories: geographic data, demographic data, psychographic and behavioral data has to be collected. Start with things like age, gender, income level, ethnicity, location. As I said earlier, starting broadly. For example, you may start by saying your target market lives in North America and then narrow it down to United States of America. But as you continue going through your market research, you can get even more specific. You can target customers living in New England, for example. By the time you are finished, the target market would look something like this: males, ages 26 to 40, living in the Boston area, with an annual income of within this range, who are into recycling. This profile encompasses all 4 demographic segments I mentioned earlier. Plus, it's very specific. Your business plan should talk about the research you conducted to identify this market. Talk about the data you collected from surveys and interviews. You will be using this target market in other sections of the business plan as well when you discuss future projections and your marketing strategy. We will be covering both of those topics very shortly. In addition to researching the target market, you need to conduct a competitive analysis as well. You will be using this information to create your brand differentiation strategy. So if you see the brand essence, it is about value proposition, brand personality, brand positioning, organizational culture, brand benefits, brand attributes, name and symbol, brand vision and objectives. When you're writing a business plan, your startup doesn't exist yet. Nobody knows about you. Don't expect to be successful if you are planning to launch a competitor's carbon copy. Customers won't have a reason to switch to your brand if it's the same as the company they already know and trust in the market. How will you separate yourself from the crowd? Your differentiation strategy could involve your price and quality. If your prices are significantly lower than others, that can be your Nike in the industry. If you have superior quality, there is a market for that as well. Competitive analysis should be conducted simultaneously with identifying your target audience. Both of these fall under the market research category of your business plan. Once you figure out who your competitors are, it will be very easier to determine how your company will be different from them. But this information will be based on your target market. For example, let's say you are in the clothing industry. Your competitors will depend on your target market. If you are planning to sell jeans for rupees $50, you won't be competing with designer brands selling jeans for 750 US dollar. Or you can base your price differentiation on what you learned about your target market. From there, you will be able to identify your competitors around you. As you can see, the two go hand in hand. You need to have all your numbers in order when you are writing a business plan. So budget accordingly, especially if you are planning on securing investment funding. Figure out exactly how much money you need to start the business and stay operational, otherwise you will run out of money. Top 20 reasons on why startups fail: no market, ran out of cash, 29% is given to this, get out competed, poor product, poor marketing, ignoring customers, lose focus, pivot gone bad, lack passion, bad location, no financing, legal challenges, don't use social network, burnout, failure to pivot. Number of reasons are there. You can see in the past decades, so many startups were there. Many of the startups failed. Running out of cash is one of the most common reasons why startup companies fail. Taking the time to sort your budget out before you launch will minimize that risk. Consider everything, start with the basics like equipment costing, property, leasing, legal fee, payroll, insurance, inventory. So here is an example about some expenses for a startup: legal, stationery, insurance, rent, travel, setup banking, post systems, advertising, phone systems, computers, and many others. Numbers need to be very accurate. When in doubt, estimate higher. Things don't always go according to your plan. In the example above, although the total startup expenses are less than, it may not be a bad idea to raise or even. That's why you have some extra cash in the bank in case something comes up. You don't want poor budgeting to be the reason for your startup's failure. Let's continue talking about your financials. You won't have any income statements, balance sheets, cash flow reports, or accounting documents if you are not fully operational. However, you can still make few projections. You can base these projections on the total population of the target market in your area and what percentage of that market you think you can penetrate. If you have an expansion strategy in mind, this would also be outlined in your financial projections. These projections should cover the first 3 to 5 years of your startup. Make sure they are reasonable. That's okay, as long as you are being honest with yourself and potential investors. Your financial plan will cover your break-even analysis also. So here you can have a look at break-even analysis. And I hope everybody must be aware that what is break-even point. While it's reasonable to expect your sales revenues to increase each year, you still need to take all factors into consideration. For example, if you are planning to expand to a new location in year 4, your financial projections need to be adjusted accordingly. You may not be profitable until your 3rd year of operation, but if you are opening a new facility in year 4, that year may have a net loss as well. Again, this is completely fine as long as you are planning and budgeting accordingly. Another example of a goal would be launching an e-commerce store in addition to your brick and mortar locations. Just don't try to bite off more than you can chew. Keep everything within reason. Your business plan should always cover the organizational structure of your startup. If it's a small company with just you and maybe one or two business partners, this should be easy. But depending on how you are planning to scale the company, it's best to get this sorted out sooner rather than later. Here's an example of what your organizational chart may look like. So here it is about owner, accounting manager, marketing manager, HR manager, operations manager, advertising, sales supervisor, note taker supervisors, copier supervisors, sales staff, and copiers. It's really important to have this hierarchy in place before you get started. That way, there is no debate over who reports to which position. It's clear who is in charge of specific people and departments. Don't get too complex with this. If you put too many layers of manager, directors, and supervisors between the top of the chart and the bottom of the chart, things can get confusing. You don't want any instructions or assignments to get lost in translation between these levels. You also don't want anyone to be confused about who is in charge. This is an opportunity for you to outline how your company will operate in terms of board members and investors. Who has the final say in decisions? While I understand you may need to give up some equity in your startup to get off the ground, I recommend keeping the power in your hands. Your marketing plan relies on everything else I have talked about so far. How will you acquire customers based on the market research of your target audience and competitive analysis? This strategy needs to be aligned with your budget and financial projections as well. I could sit here and talk about different strategies all day long, but there is no right or wrong way to approach this for your startup company. My recommendation would be to stay as cost effective as possible, be versatile and well balanced too. Acquiring customers is expensive. You don't want to dump your entire marketing budget into one strategy. If it doesn't work, you have got nothing to fall back on. Take these considerations into consideration when you are coming up with a marketing plan. It is about business objectives, marketing priorities, goals, strategies, key actions, and dependencies and risks. Before you are trying anything too crazy, get the basics sorted out first. Launch a website, stay active on social media, start building an email subscriber list, focus on customer retention, come up with customer loyalty programs. Don't ease into this step at a time, come out fast. Even before your company officially launches, you can start building your website and social media profiles. The last thing you want is for consumers to find out about your brand, but then be unable to find your website or contact information. Or worse, get directed to a website that's broken or unfinished. I have talked about many different components of your business plan. This shouldn't be a 100-page dissertation. You definitely want it to be a detailed and thorough, but don't go overboard. There is no exact number of pages it should be, but have at least one page per section. It should always be written very cleanly and professionally. Don't use slang terminologies. Proofread it for grammatical and spelling errors. Remember, you may need to use this to raise capital. People may be hesitant to give you money if you overlook the small stuff like proper grammar. Launching a startup is very exciting. It's easy to get so caught up in the moment that you rush into the things. If you want to set yourself up for success, you need to take a step back and plan things out. Going through the process of writing a formal business plan will increase your chances of securing an investment and also improve your potential growth rate. The market research you will need to conduct in order to write this plan will also help you determine whether this is a viable business venture to proceed further. If you have never written a business plan, use this post as a guide for what you should include. Follow my tips for best practices. Writing a business plan may seem like a little tedious task right now, but I promise and damn sure it will keep you organized and save you lots of headaches down the road. Thank you very much. That's all from my side. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You have really enlightened the future entrepreneurs. So hence, on the behalf of whole IIC team, members, a huge thank to you for sparing time for this informative session. And indeed, it has poured abundance of knowledge regarding startups as how to successfully and legally establish them, how to incubate the ideas, finding target markets, being innovative and empirical about its high impact value. Thank you so much, sir. You have really enlightened the young minds. So now I would request Dr. Mohit Arya, convener IIC Cell, to offer a vote of thanks to Dr. Bhaskar Gupta for being with us today for this session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I would like to thank Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, who started his talk from a point that a startup is a company that is in the initial stages of business. And he started from this line and he went up to startups are focused on the single product that our founders want to bring to the market. He told how logos, trademark, copyright, agreements work legally. He told about the primary and secondary research approach of the market. He also enlightened us by telling the importance of analysis before starting a business. He tell about licensing agreement. He also give a knowledge about the business plan and its factors. He move forward about telling the role of budget in the business, and at the end he explained each and every point of business by telling the accounting and the work and the statistical analysis in business growth. So sir, thank you very much for all these valuable talks, for all these valuable points. Our students and all of us and faculty members are really very obliged by having all of these kind of sentences.
Thank you very much for giving me this
I would
wonderful
also
opportunity to express my views for today's online session on how to plan for a startup, legal and ethical steps. And I hope to all students, faculty members who are not exactly aware of how to plan for a startup must have learned something from my session. And now I hope most of you would try to register your startup with the Startup India, or you will be approaching different, IP attorneys or other, investors who might show some sort of interest in your business venture. And with all this, I would like to thank you all for being in my session. Thank you very much to the management of College of Science and Technology for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I really enjoyed a lot with you all today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I would also like to thank our IIC President, Dr. Chandrasekhar Yadav, sir, and I will pay my gratitude to our and our host, Dr. Disha Vidyarthi, for his wonderful address. And I would also like to thank our web team who supported from the back of entire session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.